Prepare for a righteous reckoning in the new season of the HBO original series, The Righteous Gemstones. When the spoiled gemstone children finally get their wish to take control of the church, they discover leadership is harder than they imagined, and that their extravagant lifestyle comes with a heavy price. Starring Danny McBride, John Goodman, Edie Patterson, and Adam Devine. Watch the all-new season of The Righteous Gemstones, streaming June 18th on Max. Subscription required. Visit max.com for details.
Looking for an adventure? Find yours in a Toyota truck. Like a Tacoma, the ultimate off-road machine. With available crawl control, you'll tackle anything in your way. Or an electrified Tundra with more power than ever before and a spacious high-tech cabin that puts you in charge. Or go with the legendary 4Runner, always reliable and durable over the toughest terrain. No matter your adventure, Toyota has you covered. Visit buyatoyota.com for more, and let's go places.
Our buddy Jason joins the show on our video stream on our YouTube page, commenting, Paul, saying, "You are scaring us with that comment on Pat Summitt. It is now burned in our brains for the rest of the day." Jason, thanks for that comment. I think you speak for all of us when you bring that up.
Oh, brother. Come on now. Come on now.
I love that. That's so good. Thanks for the comment, Jason. Of course, you can watch our video stream on the KFH YouTube page, the KFH Facebook page, and the Sports Daily Twitter page. You can leave your comments right there, and they'll pop up right on the screen as you're joining along with us on the video stream. And, of course, the IHOP hotline open at 869-1240. Paul, I've got a quick story to tell you. It's Friday. It's our last day together, and my final day of doing the show from home. I'll be back and doing the show next week. Jacob will be back from vacation next week. And so I wanted to share this story because it's Friday and because, well, frankly, I can share this story. So, of course, I've been at home the last couple of weeks with our newborn and, helping out my wife and all of that. And I don't know if you've ever gotten into this mode before, Paul. I'm sure that some of our listeners have, where, I've been at home and I've been thinking, okay, since I'm at home, now is the time for me to try to get some things done around the house that I've been putting off for a long time, that, or maybe have needed to be done for a while. And so I've had, all these different projects I've been working on and all this different, all this stuff. So our washer and dryer is in our basement, which I know is not uncommon, in our basement. And of course we, live upstairs in our master bedroom and all of that. I get really tired. And of course now we have a newborn and a toddler. I've gotten really tired of having to go downstairs multiple different times to check and see if our washer and dryer is done. I can't tell from upstairs, from our master bedroom. I'm constantly going down the stairs and then up the stairs and checking and seeing if it's done and complete. So I've been researching and trying to find, is there any way that I can get some kind of notification on my phone? I'm a technology kind of guy. Can I do something to put on the washer and dryer? And when it's done, I'll get an alert on my phone or a text message or an email or something letting me know it's done. So I found a solution, Paul. I put vibration sensors on my washer and dryer, and when the vibration is done, that means the whole thing is done, and I get a notification on my phone, and I get to go, and I know that the laundry is complete at that point. So I was really excited about this. My wife was kind of like rolling her eyes, like, okay, whatever. If that's what you feel like you need to do, like, that's fine. So I get it all put together. I'm really excited about it. And for whatever reason, the vibration sensors that I got, when I actually have them attached to the washer and dryer, for some reason, it's like messing with, I don't know, the wires or whatever, and the whole thing's just shut down. Like the washer and dryer just stops working, just completely stops working.
Way to go.
And right. And so now what I've turned into is my wife is like angry with me. And so like during the commercial break, she's trying to do a load of laundry for our newborn. She comes in, she's like, what are you doing? The washer is not working now. Like, you've made my job harder. And I'm like, well, I've been trying to make it easier for you, honey. She's like, well, no, you've basically broken everything now. And I feel like, I think a lot of husbands can relate to that, like trying to fix something that didn't need to be fixed. And then you end up breaking the entire thing.
Wow. What a story. I got to give you credit for even telling that story to our audience.
I'm trying. I'm trying to help.
You're trying to help. What's wrong with you? You're a husband. Do you not understand that you can't do anything to help? Do you not get that? What is the sooner you
It's just me trying to make life easier
Oh,
for
well,
everybody. I mean,
there's
of course, I've made life harder,
Well,
but
that's-
my intentions were good, right?
Yeah, you're very naive. Just very, very naive to think you can think you can satisfy your wife. I mean, I just think
Yeah.
you're naive, very naive.
Well,
and
I mean,
every
look,
man in
I-
Wichita listening to this show is shaking their heads. Savage writes on this one. Yeah, Savage right
Yeah.
on this one.
So basically, what it's turned into is now I've pulled off those vibration sensors. They're gone, and the wash and dryer works fine. So for whatever reason, it was the sensors that were causing issues
How about a
and
little-
causing the whole thing to shut down.
Well,
so
I'm no-
unfortunately, that didn't work.
I'm no technical wizard, obviously, but what about some sort of little camera? One, you could flip it on while you're, remotely on. Or you turn your washer dryer
Right.
on, and you put a little remote camera up on the wall somewhere, and you can kind of watch it. And you zero in on the knobs that say
Yeah.
how much time's left and where it's at. And what about a little
That's not
camera?
a bad idea. I haven't even thought about that. I know that the Amazon Alexa, that whole thing, it will actually listen for beeping appliances like that. I did some research on that too. So if you have one of those little like Echo Dots or whatever, it will listen for an appliance beeping and then it will send you an alert. The problem is our brand of washer and dryer doesn't beep, it plays a song. So it completely doesn't work with Alexa, which is ridiculous. But
Camera's
regardless,
the way to go.
I think that I might have to look into that, but unfortunately the vibration sensor didn't work. And I think my wife is ready for me to go back to work. I
Right.
think we're at that point now.
Yeah.
I've only got a couple of days left to be back in the office. I think she's like, honey, you've tried to help too much. Let's just go back to work, go back to what's normal, and we'll get back into that routine. But hey, at least I tried, right?
Well, you did.
Some
I mean-
husbands wouldn't even try.
Yeah, Tommy Castor, causing havoc. I mean, that's just kind of the way it goes.
I got to say
tried.
this, Tommy. I feel really bad about this. My washer and dryer sends me push notifications when it's
Yeah.
done.
I know, like, and so my wife was like, hey, like there are some washer and dryers out there that will do that. And I said, well, yeah, for like what, a couple $1,000s? Like we don't need to replace our washer and dryer. I'm trying to find a cheap fix here,
There you
Right.
go.
That's what you're looking for. I like that.
That's why you broke your washing machine. Okay.
That's why I broke the washing machine, looking for a cheap fix. But you know what? I'll try the camera. I'll try the camera. I'll report back, and we'll see how that goes.
All right, good.
All right, we're gonna shift gears and talk NFL. Big time shocker yesterday. I feel like, Paul, Frank Clark, formerly of the Kansas City Chiefs, agrees to a 1-year deal with the Denver Broncos. It doesn't happen very often, Paul, when you've got a player that goes from Kansas City to Denver. It does happen occasionally. I know Neil Smith, did it a long time ago, but Frank Clark joins the list of players that had success for Kansas City and now goes to the Broncos. Of course, Clark was a free agent. They could not figure out a reworked deal for him to come back to Kansas City. I know that, guys like Chris Jones, who loved playing with Frank Clark, had been really advocating to bring Clark back to Kansas City on a reworked deal. Ultimately, though, Clark stays in the division. He goes to Denver. He's going to be playing for Sean Payton. Do you feel like this is an impact signing for Denver, or do you think that Clark, it's not really going to do a whole lot for him or for the Broncos?
No, I think it could be very good. I mean, it depends on which Frank Clark shows up. The one that's focused or the one that, has distractions in his life going on. But I think this is good for the Broncos. And after all, the Broncos are my number 3 team. I have Chiefs number 1, Cowboys number 2, Broncos number 3, even though they're rivals, and I get they're rivals. But then again, I have an interest in Colorado. I have, real estate in Colorado. They're my team. So I have skin in the game. So I'm kind of glad they went there. Now, I don't want Frank Clark and the Denver Broncos to beat the Chiefs. I don't want that. I do not want that at all. But I want them to beat everybody else. So, yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I think it could be good. But I don't know that it'll be good. I think it'll be good. It could be good.
Yeah, I was surprised by this because
Why
I
are
know
you
that.
surprised? Why
I
would you be
was surprised that I was surprised he signed with the Broncos.
Why?
I wasn't surprised that he went somewhere else. I don't know. I think that when you go and you win a couple championships, and Frank Clark was a much better playoff player than he was in the regular season. And he's kind of been that way throughout his entire career, where he was better in the playoffs than in the regular season. you go to a team that not only the Chiefs have just historically dominated. I mean, the Broncos haven't beat the Chiefs in, like, I don't know, since the Obama administration. It's been a long time. Not only that, but the Broncos haven't even sniffed the playoffs in the last several years. And when you're Frank Clark, you should know at least, that you are better in the playoffs than in the regular season, and you're not getting any younger. You don't have, I mean, I would be shocked if he plays another 5 years in the league. He doesn't have a ton of time left. And so why would you want to go to a team in a rebuild mode? I know they've got Russell Wilson. I know they've got Sean Payton. I know they've kind of reloaded, but that's a fairly big gamble. And if your goal is, and I would think it would be for me if I was Frank Clark, to try to win as many championships as possible before my time in the league is up, why would you go to the Broncos?
Well, it's an interesting question. Maybe because they're going to pay it more than anybody else. I don't know.
I mean, priorities, sure, right? Like, priorities are different for each player. And that was a big reason why he wasn't able to work out a deal with the Chiefs. I mean, with the cap space that the Chiefs had, and then the amount of money that Frank Clark was looking for, it just didn't work.
Right.
And I wonder if and I really don't think that losing Frank Clark, from a Chiefs perspective, is that big of a deal. Jacob and I talked about it when they couldn't come to an agreement on a rework deal, that, okay, like, sure, you kind of have a little bit of an attachment to the guy because he helped you win 2 championships in the last 4 years. I get that. I understand all of that. But I do think that the Chiefs have an opportunity for some higher impact players at that position, opposite of George Karlaftis and, whoever else they've got,
right,
at the defensive end position. But I wonder what kind of impact he will have for a Broncos defense that I think is really searching for their identity. And maybe he can have a resurgence in Denver. I don't know the answer to that. I just don't love the idea of a guy that played, at a high level for Kansas City, helped you win 2 Super Bowls, now going and playing for your division rival.
I got you. I'm going to try to answer maybe 2 of your questions at the same time. You said, why would he go to Denver? And I just flippantly said, well, more money, which is kind of an obvious answer. And then you said, well, can he be successful? Does he think that there's a chance to be successful? Well, whenever these guys look at these kind of situations, there's a lot of factors that go into a free agent who can sign basically wherever he wants. And he looks at several things. He's going to look at who's the defensive coordinator, who else is on the defensive line, who's the backers, what's the schemes they use, what kind of blitz packages do they have, what kind of loop packages do they have, what kind of movement packages do they have? And he's going to look at all these things. Is how do they align? Are they wide alignments? Are they narrow alignments? Are they foot to foot? Are they outside? Are they eye to eye alignments? There's so many variables that Frank Clark has probably looked at in the decision to go to the Broncos. But Tommy, I bring that up just because it's a really good question. Why would he go to the Broncos? Well, one, the money, but also this is going to be somebody that's going to play into his strength. For instance, if they expect a lot of even shades for somebody to play, say, on a defensive line, and a guy's not good at even shades, he's not going to go to that team. He's going to want to go to where there's odd number shades, and that's what he's going to want to do. So two facts, money, and probably this really fits what Frank Clark wants to do and fits probably what his abilities allow him to do at his very best. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but
yeah. And how much of it do you think is also Sean Payton and the Broncos organization saying, "Hey, Frank Clark, you come here, and maybe you can give us the inside scoop on the way that Kansas City does things.
Well,
we play them twice a year. They're a division rival. We've not had much luck against them lately. Maybe you can come in and help us figure out how to crack that code."
Well, Tommy, now this may surprise you, but there's film on the Chiefs.
Right.
But
Clark's been in the locker room. I mean, Clark is there. He's in the practices.
And so what?
What
are you going to say?
He knows all of that stuff, right?
What are you going to say? Patrick Mahomes drinks orange Gatorade? I mean, what are you going?
I don't know.
What are you going to tell him?
I mean, don't you think that there's a little bit of a psychological thought to that too? It's kind of the same way that like Orlando Brown Jr. going to the Bengals, and leaving the Chiefs to go to the Bengals. Like I think that there is a little bit of intrigue and storyline there, right? Because you're joining a rival, right? I would suggest the Bengals are a rival of Kansas City now.
Sure they are.
After the last couple of seasons.
So. Yeah.
And Denver's right there too. I mean, there might be a little bit of gamesmanship there a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Well, you've got a point. I guess you've got a point. I think my point's better, no offense. And by the way, don't forget the Oakland. By the way, what has happened to the Oakland Raiders as a rival? We have.
I mean, they're in Las Vegas now, so they don't.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. The Raiders. It's always been the Raiders. I've always been that team that you love to. I mean, even when you and I were young, it was the Raiders. The Chiefs hated the Raiders, or the Raiders hated the Chiefs. It's a two-way street. But we don't hear much about that anymore, and it's now kind of switched over to Denver. I would say.
I mean, I think a lot of it too is just the utter dominance over the last 5-6 years that the Chiefs have had over their division rivals. I mean, I think that's a big point,
well,
a big piece of that too.
Yeah.
I also, one other point before we take a break, one other point I want to make on this is that I think that this is the reality of when you've got big time stars that are making quite a bit of money for your organization. Brett Veach, as the GM, has to make the tough decisions and figure out who is expendable. You've got to make sure you're taking care of Patrick Mahomes. You've got to make sure that you're taking care of Travis Kelce and Chris Jones and, these other cornerstone foundational pieces of the Chiefs roster. Unfortunately, the further down the depth chart you get, you've got a guy like Frank Clark who, yes, he has contributed in his career in Kansas City, but he's a veteran. He's going to want a good amount of money. Unfortunately, you can't pay everybody. I think this becomes more of the reality. And it's not the first time this has happened, but more of the reality with this franchise that to make sure you keep those foundational pieces, you're going to have to, cut some people loose that maybe don't fit into that.
Gotcha. Well, I think you're right. And by the way, it's okay with me if Frank Clark goes and leaves the Chiefs. I mean, I've had problems with him off and on. I mean, I don't think he's a 100% go guy all the time. I think he doesn't go 100% all the time.
Right.
And I've had problems on occasion, and have spoken so on this show, about certain techniques he used that hurts this team. And there have been plays where he was the reason touchdowns have been scored. And
you're right.
And so
he's also the reason or one of the reasons why the Chiefs won 2 championships. So
that's right.
That's the hard thing about it is balancing and reconciling the fact that he disappears at times during the regular season, but he sure showed up in the playoffs for Kansas City and then in the Super Bowls, the last couple of years. So that'll be interesting. He goes to Denver. By the way, Frank Clark's 3 professional head coaches that he's had: Pete Carroll, Andy Reid, Sean Payton. That's a pretty good stretch of NFL head coaches to play underneath over the course of your career.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You got to play for 3 Hall of Famers.
Yep, for sure. So Frank Clark joining the Broncos on a 1-year deal, and he'll face his former team in the Kansas City Chiefs twice, a minimum of twice, this upcoming season. And, we'll see if he can lead the Broncos to the playoffs. I doubt it. I don't think he can, but time will tell on that. We're going to take a break. When we come back, another giveaway to go see George Michael, the tribute show at the Orpheum Theater next Saturday. That's going to be on the other side on Sports Daily.